I said, have you spoken to him?
Right.
He said, no,
Do I have to
but I
sit
will
up?
do. I linked him up with another project to do with an electric sports car.
Yes,
We have met on many occasions.
certainly.
I was the trainer of Crown F1 many years ago, when Crichton was around, and all those years ago. I think it's all yes. It's the big thing.
Sorry, Nick. That's all right, Nick. I didn't realise that was.
Nick, you're going to be here.
So hello everybody, how was that for everybody? Great films from local talent, which is what we're all about here, showcasing local talent. So I've got a pretty big lineup here, and it's open floor for questions and everything, but I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here first. I've got plenty of questions myself, but does somebody want to kick off with a question, anybody? No, it's always a bit nervy to start with, isn't it? Come on.
How long was the bar open for?
Oh, the bar's open for ages. So, brilliant films, Richard. Thank you for coming here. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Great team.
I was going to say, the director always takes so much credit, but without this amazing team, we wouldn't have these films. So, just to tell you. So, no, as I say, it's teamwork. Can you hear me okay? These films wouldn't have happened. I mean, these are done on not even a shoestring, half a shoestring. Sounds like a Monty Python sketch, doesn't it? And, you know, the passion projects, and you don't have distributors don't pay money for short films. So to have an opportunity to put two shorts together, it's almost like a feature. We've got a third one coming called Bambola with Vivian, who's in both those films. So hopefully we can package those as a feature and then get a feature. We've got one we want to shoot in Bristol. So there's anything else. So.
Richard, could you introduce everybody
Oh,
so,
yeah, okay.
so we know who you all are?
Yeah.
Well, shall we pass the mic up?
Pass the mic up, yeah. Because I'll probably forget everyone's names.
Okay.
Name and role.
Yes, you'll notice I've got a very local accent, but I am part of the local talent. Neil Basin, I'm the writer of the films.
You might recognise Connor.
Yeah.
I'm the one in the dress. I'm John, I'm the director of photography and editor of Censure.
I'm the director of both films.
I'm Angela and I'm the production manager and Connor's makeup artist.
I'm Nick Grayson. I think I'm here as just a bit of fluff, really. But, I was involved with the music, thanks to AD. Nick is my bit of fluff. Yeah, so I'm AD Chivers, that as part of the music scores for both the films, with collaboration really of many musicians. Nick's involved, Caroline Dale's here somewhere, amazing cello, and there's a whole collaboration of musicians that were involved in this and called Noise in Your Eyes. So that's come on.
Brilliant. I think we've got a question from Theo now. Theo, did you want to ask your question? I think Anwin's got the microphone.
Theo, where are you?
I'm up here, guys. I'm
He's
on
up
camera. Well, I just thought that those two films were absolutely fantastic. And I guess I just wanted to ask, I'm a part of the uni course, I'm also making a short film. So I was just wondering, what would you say are some elements that come through the production process that might take precedence over certain others?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if I understand. Story. The key to whatever you do when you're making a film, you have big budgets, sometimes you have massive budgets, not very good story. So if you've got the foundation, it's like having a building. You must spend as much time as you can in development. We shoot the films pretty quickly. John's such a whiz with the camera, he's so good. But yeah, you've got to have a good story, and that all starts with Neil. With creating, I have a few ideas and I give them to Neil, and he crafts these incredible stories and a pleasure to direct and put together. So that would be the key thing. Obviously, if you can get all the elements, luckily I've arrived at a team that I've been very lucky, but it hasn't happened overnight. It's been a long time, I've had a lot of projects fall through. Funding is always an issue. but we landed on our feet a couple of times, and hopefully this is just the beginning.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Any audience questions at the moment? Hi, gentleman here in the middle.
You're saying about budget, did you
Sorry,
crowdfund?
Matilda's got a microphone for you.
We're technically glued up here, you know.
Yeah.
I was just saying about the funding. Did you crowdfund at all, or
No.
was it all self-funded and investors?
No, we just didn't spend any money. No, we didn't have any.
Second one,
Second one, we had a little bit of investment from
the actor.
the actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a vested interest to do his best. But otherwise, we were pretty much on expenses.
That's
So
right. That's right. So
we
it
gave
just shows
our
what.
time and kit for
Yeah.
gratis, and just wanted to make it.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows what can be done, and we're competing against films that cost, normally shorts 50k, but I don't actually like to say in festivals how much, because I wanted to compete at the top level. It's a passion project to get just some amazing artists to do this. But if you have a good project, I mean, the voice on the first film, the father is Tom Conti. Massive actor.
How did we get him? Yeah.
Well, I had a film.
Bribery.
Yeah. I had a film been kicking around, had been optioned by Hollywood producers, and they wanted a bigger star, which pissed me off a bit, but because I'm a fan of Tom Conti. But Hollywood is fickle, and we stayed friends. Tom and I said, look, I've got this little film coming up. No real budget. And he said, I'll be happy to do this for you, Richard. So it just shows you. So,
And now he's just been in Oppenheimer.
in the Hoppenheim, that's right. Yeah, I think you've got a few bobs on.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Something? Gentleman at the back. Thanks, Matilda.
Oh, yeah.
I'll come to you next upstairs.
So, let me just say, hats off to you for the grind that this takes. I think it's fantastic. And I also want you to know what kind of mushrooms were they? Because I've never seen a poisonous mushroom that grew on a tree.
Artistic license a bit there, artistic license, yeah. We didn't expect any mushroom experts. So, we did do a bit of research on that, and in the sketchbook we had some drawings and implied that they were poisonous.
We couldn't find any real poison.
That's it. So.
There is some available in the foyer on the way.
Oh dear, there goes my licence. Gentleman upstairs, thank you.
Evening, thank you very much. Really good projects this evening, fantastic to see. My question is, between the writer, the DOP, the director, how did you guys collaborate together to bring something such, thought-provoking to the screen? So how does each role really tie together for the different perspectives, really?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. It's putting together the pieces and actors, obviously it's casting and getting, but with Connor, I'd seen in an audition for this horror film, and it stuck in my mind, and so I parked that and thought, if I have an idea, I want to use him. And then Neil and I have been working on some projects for a little while, some feature projects. Yeah. And so we already had a relationship going, and same with John, we had a project.
We had we were lined up to shoot something
locally,
slightly bigger project, period drama, all that sort of stuff, and it got canned the week before we were supposed to film. But Richard and I got on very well during the pre-production for that, and stayed in touch, and said, got this idea. And AD, I'd known for a number of years, and one time he gave me this CD for Noise in Your Eye, and he said, "Oh, have a listen." And this is how long ago it was with a CD. And I started listening to it, and I pulled over, and I just listened to the whole thing. I thought it was really cinematic. And again, I had that in my head. So when the idea develops with the writer and you put it all together, all these ideas are in your head.
That?
What's that?
No, it's because of the timing. I'll just get that.
Another 50p in the meter.
Am I talking too long again?
You mentioned Noise in Your Eye, it went off.
It's your turn.
Yeah. So I sign language.
Talk loud.
what was the point?
How did you all get together, collaborate?
Yeah.
I heard you. Oh, here you go.
Okay.
I have a question. Actually.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah.
No, that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, go on, Shaq. Shaq for that.
so film.
That one's great.
Yeah, well, I happen to live in Box, and Richard lives in Box, so we sort of bump into each other occasionally in the cafe. I brought my pianist with me. Summertime. Anyway, we live in the same village, and I knew that Richard was involved in Disney films and animating, and I've always delved in lots of TV music. And I thought, Nick, are you doing
This is pure comedy. I love it.
We thought you needed a lift after the serious film.
See how that turned out. Okay, so yes, and we were
Oh, hello. Oh, yeah. And so we lived in the same village. I knew that he was making. He had made these animations, etc. And I always wanted to get into film music rather than TV stuff. So I, just gave him a CD of a project called Noisy Rye, which Nick and Caroline Dale and various other incredible musicians are involved with, and we recorded in various studios. And it's very film-esque music, and I always wanted to put this to obviously sort of film. So when Richard, I said, yeah, absolutely. We can either give you the music as it is, or we can adapt it or make some new music. So there was a little bit of everything in those two films. There was some music that we'd already recorded, and there was some music that we had recorded and we stripped right back to make it a completely different production. And then we made some new music as well. So that's how we got together.
You have another question?
You've covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
It was about what stage your composers came on.
Brilliant. Is Anne got a question?
Hello. My question is for Connor. And what drew you to the project, and how did you sort of like prepare for the role and get into character?
It's a very good question. I think, well, Richard spoke to me about the project to begin with, and we kind of threw a few ideas around, and obviously with Neil as well. But I think it was when it started getting really dark and really quite controversial that I was properly drawn to it, and I think that the extremes help with it's such unfamiliar territory, but you find different like bits of music. I think Richard or John, I forget which one, and I don't want to miscredit either of you with it, but they suggested a song, so I use a lot of music and everything, and there's a lot of darkness involved in Aaron's mentality, and that's quite hard to relate to. I think it's just pulling things from your own past that you could hope would be vaguely near to that level, if that makes any sense.
You mean you're not a frustrated transvestite?
I'm not frustrated. It's my dad, if no. No, but it was the second I saw the script and I saw what Neil had sent through, it was incredible. It was so exciting as an opportunity, and there's a real amount of depth to it that there's a lot to grab onto with that, really. Very exciting.
Lovely, thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Lovely, there's a gentleman up the back there in the second row.
Hello, yes, you mentioned there's a third film. Is this like a cornetto trilogy? Is it going to be a similar style, or are you going to veer off somewhere else now? We've seen two films that are very much in the head or psychological, if you like.
Well, it's interesting. It's a bit like I was good friends with Gary Kurtz at Star Wars producer years ago. They had no intention of doing more films after that, but once you get going, somehow the second one does connect to sort of the mental health issues, and the third one actually will be from the female perspective. Yeah, so it will be very much a trio. It wasn't planned that way. It sort of just happened organically.
Any questions? Oh, lady just down here.
I don't need that. I just want to ask, as the only lady on the team, I want to talk to the lady.
Hello.
Just tell me, what were they like to work with and did you enjoy it?
Yes, I am the token woman on the script. Actually, that's a complete lie. I've never had so much fun, to be honest. They're always so collaborative, generous with their time. We're quite familial now, I think, now that we've worked together enough. And I'm really lucky that they have completely let me just own everything that I do with them. So I did some assistant directing work with in the first, kept things on time, and also, you know, as a mother of three, I find it really difficult anyway being able to work normally in any kind of film, and saying that I've just come off a 2-week film shoot, and my lovely husband, who with the camera here, took all of my children for that time, so it can work both ways, guys. It can, and he's very supportive. Oh, sorry, I'm not used to this. Okay, but honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better group, and the fact that it's now coming to a female perspective, I think that will be really interesting and fun for me personally. So yeah, just a personal thanks to all of the crew for putting up with my scheduling and organising and poking.
And could you pass it to my husband, because he's the only one who hasn't said anything.
Oh, yes.
There's a reason for that. No, it was great fun to do, but really interesting to see it, because we didn't do this in the modern way with sympathy codes and all the rest of it. The music was done and then modified, I guess, for the movie. And it worked brilliantly, I thought. And funnily enough, 50 years ago, that's how we did movies. We worked with a guy called Marlborough Schroeder, and we quite often were sitting in the studio with no visual reference at all, and actually just using a stopwatch.
Was the music added after the final edit, or was it done during the process?
Well, it was
because it fits unbelievably well. It's incredible.
It was. It was. Oh, go ahead.
Fighting over the mic, guys.
It was. Well, initially, there was little sketches of the music. There was a slight direction for Richard, and then the rushes would come back. And then the process was to start properly, taking apart bits of music. I mean, a lot of it was stripping down existing music, which was mixed to not to film. So it's a very interesting process there, where you have an idea of, without the visuals, a mix, a traditional mix, if you like. Of having everything in there, the kitchen sink, and then suddenly the rushes come back and literally go, the piano needs to come out, the guitar needs to come out, the bass needs to come out, and so stripping it down, and then it becomes a completely different beast. And then absolutely the final. It was a to and fro from John.
Yeah, it doesn't help when the editor changes the order of scenes after AD's done most of the music.
I remember that.
That really doesn't help. But there was a to and fro of working with. Yeah, you said that. Before I switch up. And then it really was a matter of making all the transitions completely fit, and that was a proper joy. And I must say, there's one thing in general that I'd say here, is that the process of the filmmaking, the music making, is an utter joy, and that's an important thing to really have for any project, any creative thing at all, whether it's writing a book or whether it's painting, etc. Is having the joy of the process, and certainly the music process for Caroline, Nick, myself, and many other musicians that were involved. It was an utter joyful experience, and hanging together and responding together. And there's certainly filmmaking as well, having these guys that I, a certain location was actually at my place. And it was a proper joyful experience. I mean, obviously there's moments of tension, which is part of the process, but in general, it's a wonderful medium to be involved with.
Just a quick question, Amy.
Yeah.
There was this kind of like metronomic pulse on the first film.
Could you just use the mic, because otherwise the people upstairs can't hear?
Yeah, I'm saying there was this kind of metronomic pulse on the first film, and I wondered whether you sampled an LP record playing out.
Well,
they do that one.
It's a trivial question, I know. But
Swapping back and forth.
yeah, actually, that's not on.
Switch it up.
I can see it on the video, right?
Oh yes. Okay. Well, actually, again, there's the various processes, and obviously there's a lot to do with sampling and real playing. Most of this, the sound that you heard, most of it is proper real playing.
Sure.
And so some of the in fact Nick asked me, because we recorded this quite a long time ago, and then of course 2 years later or 18 months later you sort of see the finished product, and it's like, oh, did I play this? And so all the drums, or certainly some of the drums, was replaced from the original idea, which was a kind of MIDI metronomic, and then with the tom-tom work that we recorded, replaced. So it's much more organic, and it becomes more alive, in my opinion.
Gentleman in the corner.
Oh.
Thanks. I wanted to ask Neil something, actually. I'm interested in the writing process. Once, I don't know whether you and Richard first of all discussed the story that maybe Richard had or you had, but thereafter, what was the bouncing backwards and forwards with the script to bring it down to what you thought?
It was very different on both films, to be honest, because when Censure came in, I think Richard and Connor collaborated, and there was like a 4-page foundation to work from.
It was quite minimal what we had.
Yeah. But the foundation was there, and then it was just like, how can I really make Connor's day as bad as it can possibly be? What can I put him through? But for me, Censure started in a kind of classically small way, so it was like little blueprints before I began the draft proper. And throughout, it's constant messages, phone calls, including on the shoot for Censure. I'll be walking into Tesco's and the phone will go on, Richard's like, what's this?
Yeah. So what are you saying here? What do you mean by this?
When Confines was a whole different experience. Confines was like, it almost wasn't written as a story, as a film. It was more, I was writing a monologue for Luke. So I just had loads of fun with Confines. It was great, just giving Luke something he could really get his teeth into. But again, as soon as we get to the shoot, it's a constant collaboration. So I'm just words on the page. What happens is the magic afterwards with these guys.
You say, I said before, you've got the foundations of the script, which you need, but it is a visual medium. So then when you get to put it together, like if you give it to different directors, you get very different results and very different looks. I mean, the monologue is, I couldn't write like you did. It was so well written. There was a tiny little bit of exposition that I don't like heavy exposition, and a lot of the big Hollywood films actually they play to a lower common denominator, and I can know exactly what's happening each time. We have this amazing script, but it is, I had to come up with visual things just to create other interests. So it's just not a guy in a box. So the visual things were the skull that represents loss, and the crow that's guilt. And then there was a bit, I said to Neil, he's beating himself up, in his head. He's blaming himself. And I saw this documentary with called Stats on Netflix, and there's a psychiatrist, and he says he's got Parkinson's, and it's with Jonah Hill, and he does these little diagrams to help him. Typically American therapy, but anyway, I lived there. So he would draw these mazes, and he'd do these wobbly lines. He'd draw a maze, and then he would draw an arrow right past it. He'd say, most people get stuck here in the maze, you've got to move on. Sounds very simple, but we all get stuck. And so when I said to Neil, I just want another visual idea, and I suggested the maze, and then he fleshed that out. And it just created, so we weren't just in that box all the time. So in the film, you see him, he escapes to the maze, but he's still stuck. And then eventually he breaks down and he gets out of it again. So it's very organic, and there's no single way of doing it. But of course, there's I read all the books on script writing, Robert McKee's story, Sid Field, Blake Snyder, Save the Cat. He'll say exactly what page you need to do what to make a blockbuster film. I don't like it. It's a total, but it's why so many Hollywood films are repetitive. And they're learning.
Read the same book.
Yeah, they've all read the same book. But you see, Disney are having issues right now because someone has to create that initial Star Wars, rather than doing rehash.
I think we've got another question from just behind you, gentleman there. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. My question was incredibly similar to that one for Neil. So that's been answered. So I'm now going to ask Connor and his very talented makeup artist a question about the scene where you are dressed up, the makeup and the wig and the dress and the high heels. How much it is very easy for that to go into farce or to look too polished and professional. So how did you kind of gauge how you needed to look in those scenes to kind of be convincing and to still be Aaron in those scenes?
Didn't shave.
Yeah, didn't shave. Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So I think it's kind of, it's very, and it kind of comes on to the earlier question. It's a very strange mix of somehow connecting with that and finding a love for it, so you can feel it a lot in the room. But Andrew's absolutely pivotal in this. I have to say, she was incredible for it, because I would say to her, how would I apply eyeliner? But it couldn't look perfect. It couldn't be like he's done it 1,000 times. He's a bit ashamed. He just looks it up on YouTube kind of thing and just does it. It's a little bit of a hash. It's a really fine line to tread, I think. And yeah, I mean, Andrew's perfect at that. And I have to say, she kind of read for the three other people at the table scene as well, because I always give her credit for that. That I just couldn't have done that kind of thing without her, because it's a lot of directing things into nothingness, really. I don't know if that kind of answers your question, really, but I'll pass on to Ange, because she probably has something to add to that.
I mean, it's completely a team effort there, I think. Connor didn't really know the first thing about wearing makeup, because he doesn't tend to, and although there's a great culture of people who wear whatever they want these days, which is absolutely amazing, he hadn't had any experience of doing that. So I asked him what the character needed and what the character hid behind, which was the makeup. So I gave him the basics, and honestly, he used all of my makeup. And he was really good. I think he has quite a natural talent, actually. But the way the makeup's completely messed up, it echoes what's going on in his mind.
He's not doing it for other people. He's doing
No,
it for
exactly.
him. Yeah.
It's for himself, and that's what the film is about. He's completely censored by his family, and he wants to be himself. And I think Connor did an amazing job of translating that into his character. And to be honest, he was a very good person to work with. I really enjoyed reading with you, and it was a first for me. So here's to many more. Yeah.
Hey, I think we're probably going to have to wind it up now, because we've actually got another film coming in and we need to leave, I'm afraid. But I know the team are really keen to engage with everybody, so I don't think anybody's running away. So they'll be outside in the foyer or in the courtyard. We've even put the heaters on and there's blankets out there. So do please carry on talking. Sorry, I've got to pull it to a close, but otherwise we'll have an army of people not getting to watch their next film. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you guys for amazing films. Thank you.